Howdy, howdy, her, and welcome to Fantasy Fanfellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your assistant to the regional hey and lover of all things magical.
And we are here today to dive so deep into chapters 12 through 17 of Brandon Sanderson's Hero of Ages. I realized something the other day, Steven, is that on the book cover, it does say The Hero of Ages, so I've been calling it wrong this entire time.
The Hero of Ages. It's okay.
I've just been saying
you're
Hero of
allotted
Ages.
one mess up, and there's your mess up.
A quick reminder to all of you folks out there, I'm serving as your professor of all things Sanderson to not only you, dear audience, but also to Steven as well, because this is the first time that he is reading the first Mistborn trilogy.
So this podcast will only have spoilers for the chapters we read each episode, which means if you have finished Well of Ascension and are just now starting Hero of Ages, this certainly is the podcast for you.
And a quick reminder to all of you out there that we are a part of the Fantasy Fangirls fan club. So if you want to support the show, you can check out the One of the Fellas tiers or one of the network tiers as well. If you want to get a private Discord channel, if you want to partake in our live Q&As that Steven and I are going to be recording right after this episode, actually.
That's true.
Get added to our close friends list on Instagram, discounts on merch, all different kinds of stuff. You can check that out in the show notes below. And we have a new line of merch out. So if you're interested in that, check out the Fantasy Fangirls website to learn a little bit more. Okay, Steven, it's your time. Please burn your medals.
Ka-chink.
And let us know, from your perspective, what happened in chapters 12 through 17 of The Hero of Ages.
Here we go. Chapter 12. Vin is worrying about Sazed and the direction he's headed in life, like he's a teenager that just took up cigarettes. And then we cut to another meeting because Lord Ruler knows we haven't had enough of those throughout the series. But then there's an earthquake. It seems Ruin is doing his job, ruining everything. And later they reminisce about Kelsier, which makes me think that this is leading up to him coming back somehow, maybe in a Jon Snow fashion. I don't know. Chapter 13. We're back in Marsh Unmellow Eyes POV. He is fighting his own thoughts, as you do, and thinking about Mare, which is Kelsier's wife, you dirty dog, you. Also, the ugly blue man group is slowly killing each other, which is probably a good thing, because have you seen them? Ugh. And Marsh plans on going out Ron playing chess style, meaning he's going to sacrifice himself. And I'm thinking the whole time, no, you can't. There must be another way. Chapter 14, we get a spook POV. He now has super sensitive eyes from burning too much tin, like when you finally walk outside after waking up late and being hungover and the sunlight burns the inside of your soul, and he's got a job to do. Gather intel. So my theory about him playing a major role in this book seems to be correct. The intel he's gathering is apparently a woman, and I'm thinking, okay, are you dipping your toes into some stalker romance now, Brandy Sandy? But actually, he's there to listen in on a conversation. But he keeps getting distracted by this lady. Oh, young love. Chapter 15. Vin is trying to figure out what the mists are, so she consults her 11-foot-tall ugly blue sidekick. Apparently she has a knack for befriending Lord Ruler-made beings, and she comes to the conclusion that the mists are her enemy. I mean, I could have told you that, Vin, when they started killing everyone. Chapter 16. Back to Spooky Poo. Apparently he has to sleep with earplugs and a sleep mask. I myself like a good white noise sound machine when catching Z's, so I can't talk too much smack. Also, he has to wear a cloth around his eyes because they are so sensitive. Anyway, so he's bird boxing his way around town and has a chat with a little drummer boy. And they are spying on someone called the Citizen. And then the Citizen burns a bunch of prisoners alive. Spook has a conversation with his little lady friend, who happens to be the sister of the Citizen, and then gets attacked by some of the guards and does a really good job of being awesome. I am loving your glow up, Spooky Pants. But unfortunately, he gets stabbed in the chest. Chapter 17, Ellen gives a little speech. Also, he's slowly starting to believe in the religion of Kelsier, and he and Demure are having a conversation about religion because Sazed won't do it anymore, I guess. When the mists attack and it gets Demure. But I don't know if he's dead or not because Hayden made me stop reading after this chapter.
Great job on that recap, Steven. It is now time for my one big word for the week. And my one big word is gloom. Not the Pokemon, but the...
Oh, that's a good reference.
The verb, not the verb, the noun in this case, I suppose. God damn it, gloom is a noun too because it's a Pokemon.
We're figuring it out in real time. It's fine.
I don't know about you, Steven. As I was trying to figure out my winner and loser of the week, it was far easier for me to think of a whole list of losers before I could finally figure out who I could deign to give the winner award to.
Really?
Because, yeah, things are just so rough right now. And we're seeing some uglier sides of our characters here in this stretch of chapters. All right, Steven, it's time. Let's don our miscloaks and dive so deep into chapters 12 through 17 of The Hero of Ages. Could you please read us the epigraph for chapter 12?
Do you mean the mini book?
Yeah.
Because this one is a long one. Buckle up, kids. Reshek moved the Well of Ascension. Obviously, it was clever of him, perhaps the cleverest thing he did. He knew that the power would one day return to the well, for power such as this, the fundamental power by which the world was formed, does not simply run out. It can be used and therefore diffused, but it will always be renewed. So knowing that rumors and tales would persist, Reshek changed the very landscape of the world. He put mountains in what became the north, and he named that location Terrace. Then he flattened his true homeland and built his capital there. He constructed his palace around that room at its heart, the room where he would meditate, the room that was a replica of his old hovel in Terrace, a refuge created during the last moments before his power ran out. Good Lord, what a long epigraph that was. Also very insightful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so essentially what we're learning here is, you'll remember that when we were reading about Quan's, journal, essentially in the last book, he talked about how the idea was that the Well of Ascension was in the Terrace Mountains. That was true. However, when the Lord Ruler ascended, he literally rearranged the world so that those mountains were no longer where Luthadel ended up being. They were over in what he now called Terrace, kind of as a smokescreen, essentially, to point people in the wrong direction if they ever tried to find the well in the future.
Right, yeah. A little hide and seek that seemed to work.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we are in Elend's POV. Then lets Elend know that she's worried about Sazed, that his sadness over Tindwyl is different, according to her. But Elend gets a big fat L from me here, because he says this, quote, "What's so different about Tindwyl's death? She wasn't the only one to fall during the assault on Luthadel. So did Clubs and Doxon. You killed my own father in it, and I beheaded my best friend shortly before then. We've all lost people."
I mean, he's also not wrong.
He's not wrong. But
it's not
he's
wrong.
Very dismissive of how Sazed is feeling.
He's become a rather callous individual for, I think, good reasons. There's a lot going on in his life, and it's kind of forced him to rethink a bunch of things and act in different ways. But either way, he's not wrong. It's just kind of rude.
I get it, but I just think that the last thing we should be doing is comparing tragedy here. Like, imagine if they were in some kind of group therapy session and Sazed's like, man, I just can't get over Twindle. And he's like, "You fucking baby. My dad died and I had to kill my best friend, but you don't see me crying about it."
That's true, but he's not saying this to Sazed. He's saying this to Vin.
He's talking shit with his partner, which is the thing you're supposed to do.
You're supposed to spill the tea with your love. I mean, if you can't do that with your love, who can you do it with?
Yeah, fair. To which Vin says, quote, "It's more than a death to him. I think he sees a kind of betrayal in Tindwyl's passing. He always was the only one of us who had faith. Somehow, he lost that when she died." Which, I mean, we've seen very clearly on the page going here.
Yeah.
He's given up faith altogether.
This is interesting because his faith was never really built on anything that could sustain these harsh moments. Like, it was built on the sand, to use a Bible verse, and not the rock, you feel me? But now that he's having to live out this faith, it's starting to crumble underneath him.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point. And it's not like Sazed lived an easy life. He did have to serve.
Sure.
As a keeper in servitude.
I mean, he got his wiener cut off. That's a big thing.
He got his wiener cut off, and he was not fine with that, but that didn't shake the foundations of his understanding.
He was
of
like,
who
"No,
he
that's
was
a
as
Tuesday
person."
right there."
Yeah. But so it is interesting to your point. I mean, it makes you wonder, that something just kind of snapped in him. This is such an interesting moment because it really speaks to the different ways in which people handle grief. Some of us, grieve, and then some of us are assholes, like Elend.
You're really harping on Ellen today. He's catching it all right now.
Yeah. Then Vin completely diagnoses Breeze here too, which is interesting as well. Quote, he pushes on everyone's emotions, Vin said. He pushes too hard, trying to make others happy, and he laughs too hard. He's afraid, worried. He shows it by overcompensating.
What a weird... He laughs too hard? Why are you making fun of somebody's little happy noise that they make? He laughs too hard. Have you heard him? He's obnoxious.
No, I think what she's trying to say is that he's performative in his laughter. He tries to seem too jolly in order to hide the fact that he's also worried.
Okay, gotcha.
He laughs.
It's not the volume of his laugh necessarily.
But Ellen doesn't really see it. Of course he doesn't. To be fair...
I'm going to give you the L at the end of this episode.
To be fair, he is in 100% solution mode every second of every day. I get it. But also, come on, man.
Yeah, be a little bit more empathetic, I guess.
Yeah. We are now in Vin's POV. The entire crew, including the new addition of grumpy old Set, are meeting to discuss the behavior of the mists. On a map, Ellen outlines what the situation is. Some areas on the outer part of the map get the mist 24/7, while a little closer in gets only 4 hours of sun. Luthadel at the center gets the most and might be the only place that can support crops by the summer. Vin gets a brief chime in from Reen's voice in her head that hope was foolish. The crew starts throwing ideas around. The well is the first thought, but it's gone. Even if the power did come back, it would probably be another 1,000 years, which is time that they definitely don't have. Ham proposes growing new crops that need very little sunlight, which is a good thought, but if they wanted to breed plants like this, they would have needed to be working on this for years beforehand in order to do anything that would be worthwhile. Conversation turns to the Lord Ruler, and how surprising it is that he seems to have been a bit more altruistic than they had thought. Ellen says, quote, we may not have liked his rule, but I can understand him somewhat. He wasn't spiteful, nor was he evil, exactly. Okay. He simply got carried away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why did you murder all those people? It's not because I'm evil. I just got carried away. I had a bad day at work. You know what I mean?
This is not you having a couple too many beers on a Thursday night. This is like mass genocide and enslaving an entire people.
Well, he just got carried away. He just does that from time to time. Look out when he's angry.
My biggest critique, and we'll talk about this more as we go through this story of this book, is that Sanderson does some like kind of redos on the way that we look at the Lord Ruler. That
he's trying to reshape our vision of this guy.
It just doesn't resonate with me personally.
I mean, I like the idea that Brandon Sanderson is trying to paint here, in that no one is completely evil or completely good. Everybody's there's nuance in everybody's life. I would still label him under the evil side, but you can't deny that he did some good things as well.
He did think practically in a lot of ways, and the fact that they've found all these different storages with supplies that are going to be very, very useful in what is to come next, that is something that is going to be very beneficial. I can't deny that.
I mean, and I haven't finished the book, obviously. You have. Maybe you're trying to take me off the scent, and maybe Brandon Sanderson turns it all around, and we find out that the Lord Ruler wasn't bad at all. He didn't even do these bad things. I don't know. That's kind of a hard thing to flip, because I think I remember explicitly him doing bad things. Yeah. But you know what?
I saw him do bad things.
I'll be gaslit by the author like I've been gaslit by you. How about that? Yeah. Also, I've noticed one thing about the epilogues. They seem to go with the chapters more. So we're talking about plants and the rebuilding of the world, and the entire epigraph is those things.
Yeah, that's a good point. All of a sudden, though, there's a quick earthquake, which is a new one there. We haven't seen that kind of natural disaster yet.
No, but they talk about it as if it keeps happening. But this is our first run-in with it.
Exactly. It doesn't do too much damage, though, so the meeting resumes. They're going to move to Phaedrex City next, where the last cache of supplies is supposed to reside. And hopefully, the ATM stash will be there.
I was going to say one thing about the earthquake. I wonder why he put that in there. It feels like a small detail and nothing happens from it. But what is the point of saying there's an earthquake? Is it just to show us once more that things are getting out of hand?
I think that's part of it. I also think that you can, just from a practical standpoint, the ash mounts, the things that spew the ash, are essentially volcanoes. So these earthquakes are helping to cause them to be more active. So I think there's also a practical thing here.
So ash is not falling from the sky like rain; it's coming from the ash mountains.
Exactly, yeah. And since the Lord Ruler died, they have become more active.
Okay, yeah.
But they aren't looking to fight. They're prepared to run a siege so that the city will surrender eventually. Conversation moves to Urtau, another city not under Empire control, and apparently that's where Spook is. He sent a steel message letting them know that it's being run by a faction of Ska rebels who are kind of tough on noblemen, to put it lightly. Elend will send Sazed and Breeze to work to bring the rebels to their side and control the city. And then one last thing before they go. Elend wants to know more about Kelsier. The biggest takeaway from the crew was that he laughed, even when things were bleak. So, Elend's last request before they go is for everyone to smile more, to project hope to the people, even if they think this is all hopeless. This feels like the morning meeting of like the local Walmart where the manager is like,
does.
all right, people, put a smile on your face and let's make this the best day ever.
I don't care if they're rude to you when they walk in. You give them that good face you got going. Yeah, no, I don't know why he has a southern accent as he's teaching, but that just goes with the territory of Walmart, seemingly. Yeah, it's interesting. He mentions everybody smile more after he just talked so much shit about Sazed.
I wasn't going to bring it up. But I'm glad you did.
His inability to grieve properly in Ellen's eyes, I guess. Also, so basically they're trying to tick off these areas to find the A-Team stockpile. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things. And then they're sending... Do they believe that the A-Team is at the Ska place, or this is an unrelated mission for
No, they're trying to continue to kind of essentially take over the rest of the empire so that they can have a united front through all of this. So that it's separate from the search for the different stash.
People are getting a little out of hand. They're like, hey, we need to go stop this
Exactly.
immediately. Okay.
Exactly. All right, Stephen, please read us the epigraph for chapter 13.
Hemalurgy is so named because of the connection to blood. It is no coincidence, I believe, that death is always involved in the transfer of powers via hemalurgy. Marsh once described it as a messy process. Not the adjective I would have chosen. It's not disturbing enough. Okay, so the writer obviously knows Marsh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really think the writer is I think Sazed's writing all this.
Okay.
And if he's writing all this, did he write the very first epilogue, which says, unfortunately, I am the hero of ages?
Hero of ages. That's interesting. Yeah. That's
I don't know why I would flip all of a sudden. But then again, as I was reading back in some of the epigraphs, they feel different, but that may just be me projecting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird too because there's kind of a detached nature. It reads like a history text essentially, but at the same time, to your point, whoever this is knows the main characters of this story. Yeah. So we are still trying to piece together, okay, who actually put this together?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's Sazed, and I'm going to say he's the hero of ages for some reason. Okay. Or maybe it's Spook. Spook may be the hero of ages. Maybe Spook's writing it.
That would be quite the turnaround for sure. All right, we are now in Marsh's POV. Marsh sits in a Koloss camp somewhere off to the north. He's able to think for himself while Ruin is tending to other things.
I want to say this, though. I hate the fact that Brandon Sanderson is edging us with this character, Marsh. One day, he's all the way on Ruin's side. The other day, he's all the way away from Ruin's side. It's just going back and forth. I wonder if that's just him trying to portray that he's just very tossed to and fro mentally. And
whenever Ruin is actually paying attention to Marsh, he has literally no control over not only his actions, but also his thoughts. It's almost like he's put in this, like,
trance?
Stupor. Yeah, this trance is a perfect word for it, where it's like... even these things that are so terrible and disgusting to him while he's not under Ruin's control start to seem beautiful and sweet. So I think what we're really getting at here is he has these brief moments of lucidity where he's like, if only I could just, in my life, I could be free from all of this.
Yeah, okay. Because right now it sounds like he's pretty free.
Yeah, exactly. He's not, and it's interesting because he has to be careful because if he shows too much autonomy, then Ruin is going to be like, hey, stop that. And then he's going to grab control back of him.
Yeah, so Ruin isn't really paying attention. It's like the Eye of Sauron. Whenever you put the ring, because I'm wearing the ring right now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's a little, and I also got a Lord of the Rings cup too. But maybe when he's just not paying attention to this guy right now.
Yeah, and I think I like this story device because Ruin cannot be everywhere at once. And because of that, it makes it to where Ruin can have some kind of weakness. If he is omnipotent, no matter what, he can see everything at all times, there's not much of a chance to defeat him. So this actually creates an interesting story.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. So he has a weakness and he has limitations.
Yes.
Ruin.
Yes. All the other Inquisitors are off on other tasks. We learn a bit more also about the spikes. Quote, of all the Inquisitors, Marsh had been given the largest number of new spikes. He had 10 new ones planted at various places in his body. That ostensibly made him the most power of the Inquisitors. Why leave him behind?
I mean, he's got some new bling.
Yeah,
just
he
walking
does.
around,
He is
decked out.
bedazzled, baby.
He's peacocking right now. Look at my new spikes, buddy.
Marsh thinks back on his time leading the Ska Rebellion before he left it. Then Kelsier came along and the rebellion won, right after he had given up. And so Marsh thinks he's doing the same thing now, giving up. Marsh goes further, quote, yet one harrowing, undeniable fact remained. Mare had been right. She had chosen Kelsier over Marsh, and then, when both men had been forced to deal with her death, only one had given up.
So he's saying he gave up?
Yes, he's saying he is giving up currently because he doesn't see a way out from under the influence of Ruin, whereas Kelsier never gave up.
Yeah, to his own sacrifice at the very end.
Yep.
I love how there's a little love triangle
Yeah.
going on post death with these three guys.
Yes.
These three people, rather.
The thought of Mare makes Marsh want to fight, but how? Ruin can't be everywhere all at once, like we were saying. In fact, he wonders if it was leaving him alone a bit more because he'd stopped struggling. Maybe that could give him an opening to strike when it least expects it.
So he's going to try to go out the Kelsier way and sacrifice himself for the greater good.
Exactly. In this situation, it's more of like, hey, I'm not like going to try to kill Ruin. I'm going to try to kill myself, so I can't be a tool for him to use in the future.
Yeah. I wonder with all this talk of Mare, do we know for sure if she's dead?
I mean, that she died before the first book even started, so we haven't seen her body or anything, but the assumption is she is dead.
Okay, I didn't know if Kelsier watched her die or not. I don't know. I'm skeptical of anything this author's doing because I don't know what's going to happen, and I've been wrong before. I'm just trying to keep all my options
What if
open.
Mare is the hero of ages?
Maybe. I don't think that's accurate at all.
Okay. All right, Stephen, please read us the epigraph for chapter 14.
Ruin's consciousness was trapped by the well of ascension, kept mostly impotent.
Same.
I hate when... Never mind. That night, when we discovered the well for the first time, we found something we didn't understand, a black smoke clogging one of the rooms. Though we discussed it after the fact, we couldn't decide what it was. How could we possibly have known? It was a part of the body of a god, or rather the power of a god, since the two are really the same thing. Ruin and preservation inhabited power and energy in the same way a person inhabits flesh and blood. Okay, so there's a lot in this epigraph. The first thing that struck me was, obviously, the person writing was one of the people that was at the Well of Ascension. So it's either Ellen, Vin, the smoke monster thing, idiot, vague thing, or Sazed. Or maybe Marsh, I guess. It could be Marsh, but he's still Inquisitor.
That's true. Well, and I'm trying to think of the choreography. So from... so we had Vin and Ellen. They were there from kind of the beginning.
And Spook was there, too, I guess, wasn't he?
Yeah, Spook was there.
He could be the one writing this. He could be the hero of ages, too.
Yeah, and we had Vin and Ellen both in there kind of from the beginning, along with Spook, I suppose. And then Sazed was lagging behind. Mm-hmm. And so he, if I remember correctly, it's crazy how quickly things from a book that you read a month ago just like it disappear from your mind. From what I remember, Sazed came kind of after all the action happened.
Yeah, because if he would have been there, he could have helped Vin and told her not to take the power, to take the power.
Yeah, because he was kind of being led there by the Mystic Spirit saying, hey, let her take it.
Yeah, but I guess really it could be anybody in their group, and they're just saying we found it because they were all working together to find it, whether or not they were there.
Could be Breeze.
I lean toward it being Sazed still.
Okay.
He sounds like the most likely to be writing this kind of stuff because he's a terraceman.
Right.
But also there's a bunch more in here. Like, okay, it was the part of a body of a god, or rather the power of God. They inhabit power and energy in the same way a person inhabits flesh and blood. Interesting lingo here.
Yeah, and I imagine as we continue to read these different epigraphs, Like, it always feels like certain things when you read them the first time in an epigraph here, you're like, what the hell is that? And then you read an epigraph from 20 chapters down the line, you're like, so that's what that means. All right. We are now in Spook's POV. Yay!
Okay, this is the most interesting part of the story now.
Okay.
Okay, if you remember correct, and I said as much in my intro, in the last episode, I prophesied, or predicted rather, well, it's prophecy because it's coming true, that he would play a pivotal role in this book because we hadn't seen much of him. And now we discover a lot of interesting things about this character that I didn't know previously.
Yes. I mean, it's a complete 180 in terms of the tone in which, like, Spook is discussed at all. He's very serious right now, where he's always been thought of kind of as a joke.
Yeah. And is this our first Spook POV? I think it is.
I believe so.
Yeah, because we've been talking about Spook, or he's been in little sections of chapters and whatnot, but he's never had the main spotlight. So this is very cool.
Spook walks through the streets of Urtau at night, flaring tin. Apparently, he's been using tin non-stop for the past year. Quote, the flared tin had begun as a reaction to Clubs's death. He still felt terrible about the way he'd escaped Luthadel, leaving his uncle to die. During those first few weeks, Spook had flared his metals as almost a penance. He'd wanted to feel everything around him, take it all in, even though it was painful, perhaps because it was painful.
I love this quote because this whole time, well, ever since the last book, Spook has been calling himself a coward, and he does that again later in the chapters. But here, the fact that he ingests this, because he's a tin eye, right?
Yep.
He's an allomancer, but he can only burn tin. But when it says he wanted to feel everything around him, that's not a coward's way out. That is a very mature thing to do. I want to feel everything that's going on so I can maybe there could be different reasons for why he wants to feel, but a coward doesn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he was trying to, I think a lot of it just came from the guilt of saying, I'm responsible. He felt responsible for my uncle dying. I need to feel everything, even though it hurts, to repay the fact that I led to his death.
Yeah, that was another good point. Another good fact that he is Clubs' nephew.
The paragraphs explaining what Spook's new life is like are amazing. The stars up above are like tiny suns, and during the day, he has to wear a whole cloth over his eyes to prevent the sun from blinding him.
His senses have been heightened, I guess.
Yes.
And everything is just too much. I wonder how annoying that would be, just walking into a crowd of people and it's just the volume knob is set to 11 on everything.
Oh my God, I would hate it so much.
Or when you walk outside. I mean, I already don't like looking at the sun, but imagine just being outside with
Oh my God.
100 times worse.
Exactly. Spook wants to be useful to the crew that has always doubted him, inadvertently pushing him to the side. He wants to prove himself. We learn that Spook is here to learn about someone called the Citizen, who's started his own government here in Urtau. The Ska had overthrown the noblemen upon the death of the Lord Ruler, but it didn't stop there. Urtau had become a dangerous place. Spook sneaks his way into the garden of the Citizen's base, an old noble's house he'd taken over. Suddenly, a girl appears in the garden. Her name is Beldre, the Citizen's beautiful but sad sister.
I found it interesting that they were harping on that one aspect. Why is she so sad? I mean, look around. Why is everyone not sad?
Yeah, he's like, smile a little more.
You sound like Ellen.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you going to go yell at a man for having sad
God.
thoughts about his ex dying too after this? You hypocrites.
It's pretty clear Spook has a crush on her, but he turns his attention to the Citizen's quarters, listening to his meeting.
Reminds me that Spook is a young guy because he has a task and he gets distracted by a girl.
Exactly, yeah.
It's exactly what any young man would probably have.
It's very Romeo and Juliet-ish, actually.
A little bit. With more ash, though.
Yeah, a lot more ash. And a cloth over Romeo's eyes.
Yeah, I mentioned this in the intro. Have you ever seen Bird Box? Where they have to tie the stuff around their eyes.
Yes.
This is what I picture. He's just walking around like in Bird Box.
Yeah, exactly. They know that ambassadors from Elend are coming, and Quellion, the Citizen, is not interested in making a treaty. The interesting thing about Urtau and Quellion is that they are avid followers of the Church of the Survivor, and Quellion is invoking Kelsier's name and hatred of nobles as reasoning for not giving in to Elend.
So Callion is the name of the citizen?
Yeah, Quellion, yep.
Quellion, sorry.
Yeah, it was weird because the way that it was presented, he's called the citizen, and then all of a
his
sudden
name
he's called
drops in.
Quellion. So you have to kind of like settle it in your mind.
Yeah.
Spook's attention turns back to Beldre. Quote, so he settled back, content for the moment to watch her, feeling that somehow, despite their distance, despite his ignorance, he understood that feeling in her eyes.
So basically what's going on is there's a little faction of people that are ran by this Quellion, the citizen, and they're trying to live the best that they believe is the Church of Kelsier, or the survivor, but they're just going about it all the wrong way.
I think it's more nefarious than that, actually, because...
Actually, we find out it definitely is, because they're Alamancers.
Yes, that, and we also learn when Spook is pretending to be a beggar in a later chapter, they are taking a cut of what beggars earn on the street as taxes for the new government. So in all of this, they're trying to be this government run by the people, and yet they're taking taxation from people who are on the street begging for money.
Ooh, it's almost like they're using the Church of the Survivor as a guise for their own purposes. I wonder what that sounds like.
They're blaspheming. All right, Stephen, give us the epigraph for chapter 15.
The Ash. I don't think the people really understood how fortunate they were. During the 1,000 years before the collapse, they pushed the ash into rivers, piled it up outside cities, and generally let it be. They never understood that without the microbes and plants Reshek had developed to break down the ash particles, the land would quickly have been buried. Though, of course, that did eventually happen anyway. Okay, first of all, I just like how he uses the word microbes. It's just the little details he's putting in here. Fantastic. This is very interesting. We're saying the ash is a good thing.
This sounds like Elend. He's like, you know what? The Lord Ruler, the ash was a pretty good idea when you think about it.
Yeah, why is he sucking the Lord Ruler's dick all of a sudden? This is getting really weird, Elend. You're yelling at people for grieving, and you're making the Lord Ruler sound good? I don't know what's happening.
He's like those people who are like, I don't know. I like him. He tells it like it is.
Anyway, no, but there's a lot in this particular epigraph. I'm interested in some of the verbiage here. It says, during the 1,000 years before the collapse, and this is in capitalized collapse. Yeah. Is this talking about what happens after this book, or is this a previous thing?
So that's a great question, and where we're at in the story, I think the implication is either A, it's the collapse of the Lord Ruler's government, which would have been a couple years ago now, or the collapse is happening right now.
Yeah. I don't think the people really understood how fortunate they were during the 1,000 years before the collapse. Am I supposed to know anything that's going on, or am I supposed to be?
No. I mean, absolutely not. You're not supposed to understand really any of this. I mean, you have enough context to where you can start like putting pieces together, but it's not, the jigsaw puzzle. We're working on the edges here, right? We're not in the middle of the puzzle. We're doing the corners, basically.
Well, it says they pushed ash into the rivers, piled it up outside the cities, and generally let it be. I don't have any memory of anybody doing this in the books, or it even being mentioned. So this is something that happens.
Well, it's probably
later.
just I think that's just a detail that maybe either wasn't mentioned or it was mentioned in passing that just wasn't a huge point.
Okay.
I wouldn't hyperfixate on it, Stephen.
All right. Well, okay. Well, now I want to, because you told me not to, and I'm stubborn. Well, I think it was the first episode. One of the epilogues basically said that Reshek, it was a home DIY project, and he was making things worse, but also trying to make everything fit.
Yeah, he's putting duct tape on stuff.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah, I mean exactly. All right, we are back in Ven's POV. Ven walks among camp, the sun burning through the mist that is sticking around during the day. She comes across Ham and Elend chatting. Ham is pushing back against going further into the Western dominance, which would force them to inoculate their soldiers to the mists. He wants to save lives.
Yeah, unlike Elend, who put people in the mists to kill them.
Literally. But Elend and Ven agree it must be done. What if they were to be attacked during the day? They'd be at a disadvantage. Ham leaves, unhappy with the order, but he leaves. Elend references a note from Kel giving each of the crew members jobs after his death. He wanted Ham to be a general, but Elend thinks Ham gets too involved and cares too much for his soldiers. Sometimes difficult choices have to be made. He also asks Sven to take more control over her Koloss human, who has apparently been poking around camp while she's not directly controlling him.
I love the fact that this Koloss is just named human. I don't know why. I just like that little detail. This is further illustration. Ellen is starting to get kind of a little too bossy.
Yeah.
You need to control your Koloss, woman. That's how I imagine him saying that. And
Yeah.
I kind of want to sock him.
He's like the.
How
He's
old am
like
I?
the.
I want to sock him. I sound like an old man.
He's like the when you walk past someone in the dog park and they don't have a leash on their dog, and you're like, you need to control your dog.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's the guy that's just on Facebook in the HOA page, just complaining about other people's kids.
Yeah. I'm also getting a, referring to human, the Koloss, I'm also envisioning the meme that's Steve Buscemi, who like when he has like a skateboard and he's like, hello, fellow kids. But in this case, he's like, hello, fellow humans.
Yeah, he's trying to fit in, but he's
Yeah.
obviously sticking out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Because he's 11 feet tall and blue.
And his skin is literally cracking at the seams. So,
Yeah, it's not a good thing to look at. It does say that he's very muscular, but I can't imagine it being sexy muscles.
so then goes to human and tells him he has to stay away from camp. But he says he should have a house. Okay, go off, King. But then, know your worth. Okay.
Housing is a human right, and as you know, my name is human, so...
But then he says that Vin is like us, which is interesting. When Vin asks why, he says, mist. Interesting. He doesn't really give her any more insight, just that he hates it for whatever reason. All this time, Vin had thought of the mists as her ally, as Kelsier said. But now, quote, what of the hesitance she felt toward the mists and how they pulled away from her, the way they stayed out of buildings, the way they killed. It all pointed to what Human had said. The mists, the deepness, hated her. Finally, she acknowledged what she had been resisting for so long. The mists were her enemy.
Yeah, there's a lot in this. First of all, back to the Koloss. I imagine that this Koloss is on somebody's Hear Me Out list, and that's you. Let us know in the comments. I just want to know who out there is like, you know what? I could take a tussle with the Koloss. But I also love the fact that Brandon Sanderson is making me like this Koloss. I didn't like them before, but the one named Human. Maybe it's the name. Yeah. I don't know.
He's a man of few words, but...
He's a man of few words, but he's just trying to find a home.
That's right.
Trying to find a nice lady. He just wants to settle down in his house.
Well, and it was also...
build it super tall, though.
It was also funny how he was like, oh, I make them uncomfortable. They should have just attacked me.
Yeah. And she said something along the lines of, well, that's not how we do things.
Yeah, we don't do that.
We don't just attack, unless you're Ellen, who attacks everybody he doesn't like. Now that he's callous, maybe he's becoming a blue man and the blue man is becoming a human. There's I'm kidding. But there was an interesting aspect here. So it says, the mists were her enemy. Now, in the first book, whenever she defeats the Lord Ruler, she only does so because the mists helped her.
She calls upon the mists, yep.
Right. But in hindsight, if the mists are working with Ruin, it makes sense that they would want to help Vin defeat the Lord Ruler.
Right.
Because, I mean, at first glance, oh, they're helping me defeat the bad guy. But there's somebody else behind the scenes that this seemingly bad guy that Ellen is really in love with now for some reason, he was trying to keep at bay.
Yeah. Well, and I think we also have to point out the difference in the way that the mist is behaving. From the first book, if you remember, the mist would kind of dance around her. You know, it wouldn't like run from her. But now, whenever she uses allomancy, the mist kind of like separates from her a little bit. So something has changed.
Yeah, I feel like it's because the goal of the mists helping her was to take down the Lord Ruler to free Daddy Ruin over here.
Okay.
I think it's all connected.
Interesting. All right.
Because the mists were kept at bay by the Lord Ruler.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were always rather nefarious, and we just kind of paired them being good because they helped Vin take down the Lord Ruler. But it makes sense now in hindsight that they are her enemy, and they're on the side of ruin, not preservation.
All right, Steven. Give us the epigraph for chapter 16.
They're called allomantic savants, men or women who flare their metals so long and so hard that the constant influx of allomantic power transforms their very physiology. In most cases, with most metals, the effects of this are slight. Seekers, for instance, often become bronze savants without knowing it. Their range is simply expanded from burning the metal so long. because becoming a pewter savant is dangerous, as it requires pushing the body so hard in a state where one cannot feel exhaustion or pain. Most accidentally kill themselves before the process is complete. And in my opinion, the benefit isn't worth the effort. I like how that's just in there. In my opinion, probably shouldn't do that. Oh, say Zed, maybe. 10 savants, however, they are something special. Endowed with the senses beyond what any normal allomancer would need or want. They become slaves to what they touch, hear, see, smell, and taste. Yet the abnormal power of these senses gives them a distinct and interesting advantage. One could argue that, like an inquisitor who has been transformed by a hemalurgic spike, the allomantic savant is no longer human. So we're talking about spook, which is what I was mentioning earlier about these epigraphs being so in line with the chapter that they are before.
Yeah.
So he's not, I'm trying to figure this out. So allomantic savant, not everyone who burns a metal is this.
Correct.
This also just exists.
Well, it's more so saying that, like, if you are someone who burns your metal so constantly, you're going to end up being what is called a savant, meaning that, like, it's going to shape the way that you are.
Okay, so anybody can become a savant.
Yeah, as long as they burn it enough. But sometimes it's dangerous to do so.
Obviously, yeah. I was trying to figure out if this was like a separate thing. Some people are mistborn, some people are allomancers, some people are savants. And then I was going to say, why did the Lord, because the Lord Ruler created allomancy, seemingly. So why would blah, 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 but that's inaccurate. So
Gotcha.
Either way, this is a lot of interesting stuff concerning our boy Spook here, which, once again, further illustrating the fact that I'm freaking right about him playing a pivotal role. Tell you what, I am seeing the glass clear as mud. Clear as day, honestly.
No,
I mean, pretty good.
It's kind of crazy how accurate some of your predictions are becoming. It's pretty impressive.
It's because I know what I'm doing in life.
We are now in Spook's POV. Spook wakes, and we get to see all the ways in which he has adapted to constantly burning tin, like plugging his ears with wax so that he can actually sleep.
Whatever you got to do to catch some Z's, I'm not going to fault you for.
Yeah. Spook poses as a beggar on the street with another Ska named Dern, who is looking on the bright side of the new situation under the Citizen. But Spook disagrees. The murders under the new government are still happening. They just happen in dark alleyways now, as opposed to when it was the Lord Ruler. Hey, he may have killed people, but he killed people out in the open.
Yeah, and this guy, Dern, it's very, I don't know why Brandon Sanderson decided to write so much about him being a musician, because he's drumming on the ground in the dirt. He's the little drummer boy, the dirty drummer boy.
Yeah.
And maybe that was just to emphasize that Spook could hear this. I don't know, but there's a lot of emphasis put on him being a great drummer, essentially, or a great musician. And then he goes on to say, but he could never be a musician because ska weren't allowed to play music. I don't know. I don't know why that was in there. I'm just trying to find things that don't fit so that I can piece together some other stuff.
So you remember that Brandon Sanderson is creating this connected universe of different worlds, and some people have wondered if Dern is potentially somebody from another planet because he's so different. Like, he's putting so much emphasis on him, for example. So the question was this, and he actually answered this. In Hero of Ages, is Dern a world hopper? Spook's beggar friend who has the perfect disguise? Brandon Sanderson. I'll RAFO that, which means read and find out. So he typically only says that when something is going to become relevant at a later date.
So we know that there is another world hopper.
That's right. Hoyd.
Actually, Hoyd is, those of you that haven't read the book, and you haven't read this, Hayden.
Yep.
Tress of the Emerald Sea, also by Brandon Sanderson. This is a standalone within the Cosmere. This is narrated by Hoyd.
That's right. Yes.
And he's in, I think, all three of these books from what I've read.
He is
a random example.
Very, like, almost every single Cosmere book. He appears in some way, shape, or form.
Interesting. So does Dern, apparently?
Dern, we don't know if he's a world hopper or not, but...
Okay, so that's what Brandon Sanderson was just alluding to, him being some sort of relevant character for other things.
Right. Suddenly, a group of prisoners come down the street, escorted by soldiers. Spook and Dern follow. They arrive in a square, and the Citizen and his sister, Baldre, are there as well. The Citizen speaks, revealing that these prisoners are noblemen who had hidden from the government. But really, they're more likely just normal Ska who have some kind of noble blood in them. The prisoners are pushed inside a building, and the soldiers start throwing lit torches into it. They're going to be burned alive. According to Dern, this is a bit harsh, but this is ultimately what Kelsier had taught. Death to the nobleman.
He's kind of not wrong in that Kelsier did talk smack about noblemen.
Yeah.
And when you have that kind of rhetoric,
Right.
people will go crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Spook sets off down side streets as the citizen heads off to meet with commoners, making a good show of things. Spook weaves through the crowd and whispers to Beldre as they pass, "Your brother, you approve of his murders?"
Okay, Beldre is the girl that he got distracted by,
the
right?
citizen's sister.
Yeah, so he was the one that was that girl distracted him when he was trying to spy on the citizen previously.
Yeah.
Because that was a quick little thing that happened too, and I was trying to pair the two.
Yeah.
And I had to go back and reread.
Right.
Just making that. So she's the sister of the citizen whose name is
Quellion or the citizen, yeah.
We'll just call him the citizen.
Yeah.
But I like to imagine this scene specifically because he's wearing a blindfold, basically. He's just weaving through the cloud. Also, and this is not something you brought up, he has these special glasses that he's wearing underneath this cloth, which is why the next part of the book is called Cloth and Glass.
Yes.
So referencing Spook. So he's got a huge role coming up, I think.
Okay, Stephen, you're right. Is that what you wanted to hear?
Yeah, I want you to tell me I'm right. The student has become the teacher. Hey, stay in the truck. I'll get the gate. Let me read it now. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
"Who are you?" she says. Spook says, "I'm the man who will kill your brother." That is a way to pick up a girl if I've ever seen one.
Right? He's also, okay, Spook, where'd you come from? You say you're a coward, but you don't talk like that to people if you're a coward.
Yeah, that's
He's
true.
doing, and we're about to see an even more badass moment here, but just a complete character shift reminiscent of Ellen's character. I mean, now he's kind of a weirdo. He should stop being so loving of the Lord Ruler, but still, big character shift for him. He's not the same weak. I think I can use that word. He was kind of weak back in the day, just had head knowledge, but now he's a strong character. Spook is just that glow up, man.
Yeah.
He got hot and all of a sudden he knows what to say. He's got some more confidence. Yeah.
She has no big reaction to this like Spook would have expected. Before he gets noticed by the citizen, he says, "I knew the survivor, Beldre," he whispered harshly. "He named me, called me a friend. What you've done in this city would horrify him, and I'm not going to let your brother continue to pervert Kelsier's legacy. Bring him warning, if you must. Tell Quellion that I'm coming for him."
Yeah, and I think that this lovely lady here is kind of on Spook's side because it says whenever he says the phrase, "I'm here to kill your brother," it says he waits for her to scream or to show any sort of fear or to call out to the guards or whatever. She doesn't do any of that. She's just listening.
I'm listening.
She also says, many people have said that. Why are you different?
Yes.
And he says a few things, but yeah, so I feel like she is on the side that he's on.
Yeah.
She may be a relevant character in the
Or
future.
she's
too.
at least conflicted.
Yeah, I think she recognizes her brother's faults.
Spook is spotted, and guards are upon him, drawing swords. Spook draws his dueling cane. He may not be Mistborn, but his heightened senses are a huge advantage. Spook manages to wrest a sword from one of the guards, but he can feel someone working on the metal with allomancy.
Yeah.
He looks over to the citizen and sees focus in his eyes. It's him. The citizen is an allomancer. He's the ultimate hypocrite.
He's kind of like Kelsier,
Yeah.
hating on the nobleman when he himself kind of has the same blood.
Yeah.
But it mentions in the book, because he has his senses have been heightened from the usage of tin, it compares it to using atium. So he's basically a Mistborn using atium right now because he's able to sense so many things. It says verbatim, he feels a slight brush of wind and realizes a sword is about to slice him, so he's able to dodge it, which you can't do unless you're using atium or you have this heightened awareness.
Yeah, it's really cool. He tries to run, but is grabbed by the foot by the guard he had hit in the head twice just a moment ago. It seems like this person may be a pewter allomancer themselves.
Yep.
Spook grabs the man and tries to use him as a shield against an oncoming soldier, but the soldier stabs through his comrade, the sword extending through to Spook's chest, and everything goes black.
Yeah, this was the entire way this was written was just crazy in my opinion. And I was so invested, on the edge of my seat with this last part of this chapter. This is the most interesting chapter to date, at least in this book, I think, because it's just showing us a new side of Spook that we haven't seen, plus it's well written. But yeah, he's not dead. I don't think he's dead.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens to him.
That would kind of suck. I mean, you're getting this POV
Everything
chapter
goes
from
black.
him and
The next, and he's dead. They're all attending his funeral.
All right, Stephen, give us the epigraph for chapter 17.
The subtlety displayed in the ash-eating microbes and enhanced plants shows that Reshek got better and better at using the power. It burned out in a matter of minutes. But to a god, minutes can pass like hours. During that time, Reshek began as an ignorant child who shoved a planet too close to the sun, grew into an adult who could create ash mounts to cool the air, then finally became a mature artisan who could develop plants and creatures for specific purposes. It also shows his mindset during his time with preservation's power. Under its influence, he was clearly in a protective mode. Instead of leveling the ash mounds and trying to push the planet back into place, he was reactive, working furiously to fix problems that he himself had caused. Yeah, this is the DIY thing again.
Yeah.
He's causing more damage than he is healing anything. But he's using the power of preservation. Is this saying that the Well of Ascension is the power of preservation?
That is the implication, and the Well of Ascension was essentially the prison that held Ruin in place.
So seemingly preservation is more powerful than ruin.
Yeah, I mean, that's at this point, that's a...
If he was able to keep him at bay.
Yes, it wasn't able to kill him.
That's true.
But to at least keep him held back a little bit.
I wonder, because there's so many religious references in here. I mean, it's a different religion than in modern religions, anything like that. But it's kind of like God versus Satan kind of a thing.
Yeah, but the thing I will say about the Rune and Preservation versus thing, like good versus evil, is that in a previous epigraph, there was mention of you shouldn't really think of Rune and Preservation as good and evil. They are the embodiment of these things, these characteristics. So Ruin is more acting as, the power itself. It is a natural inclination to destroy.
Now my mind is wondering, because if Ruin and Preservation are simply just powers, why did it have a voice when it was freed? Does that mean there's an entity out there that has tapped into the power of Ruin? Maybe. Because in one of these epigraphs it says Ruin and Preservation use power like humans use flesh and blood, right? Am I onto something here?
You're onto something interesting. I think you'll want to keep reading.
Oh, will I?
That's the
great.
best I could do.
That's a great answer. I feel so much better now. Thank you so much.
All right, we are back in Elend's POV. Elend rides atop his horse among his men as they wait for the mists to creep in. Very soon, something like 1 in 50 will die. The soldiers stand bravely, waiting for their potential death, and he gives a quick speech to his soldiers, telling them to remain brave. Really easy for him to say because he knows he's not going to die, but whatever.
There you go again.
Demue commends him and then asks him if he means what he said about the survivor during his speech. I'm sorry, my lord. I didn't mean to question your faith. It's just that, well, you don't have to keep up the charade of belief if you don't want to.
My mind immediately went to when he goes, my lord. It went to Lord Farquaad because, and then it goes to this. Some of you may die. I feel like that's how he said that speech whenever he just put people in the mists.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But it's a sacrifice I will. He's Lord Farquaad. Elend is becoming Lord Farquaad right now. That's exactly what it is. My lord. Because they called Lord Farquaad, my lord.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
2, my lord, pick 2. Yeah, it's happening. No, Elend is Lord Farquaad now. It's great. Can't get that out of my mind.
Elend says, quote, I gave my word to Demue. I do what I say. I believe you, my lord. You are an honorable man. But if you don't really believe in the survivor, I don't think he would want you speaking in his name. Damn!
Yeah, it seems that Demue really has a faith in this religion.
He does. He is a true believer. Yeah.
I mean, why not? Why not?
Point,
Everything else is falling apart. There's nothing to believe in.
Yeah, sure, I'll give it a try.
Caesar's over here watching YouTube videos of Richard Dawkins trying to get his faith back or kill it even more. I don't know, but so I mean, why not believe in the?
I feel like that's how a lot of cults start. It's just why not? Sure.
Why not? Let's just get together.
Give it a try.
Later. Light these candles and let's start speaking.
Ultimately, Elend admits he's having a hard time with faith currently. Quote, my last god was killed by the woman I eventually married, who you claim as a religious figure, but who spurns your devotion.
That's
true.
That's a good statement there. True.
I don't reject your god, Demue. I mean what I said. I think having faith in Kelsier is better than the alternatives. And considering what's going to be coming at us in the next few months, I'd rather believe that anything, is out there helping us.
I think Elend is really trying to just grasp on anything he can currently.
That's right. We get some interesting insight into the Church of the Survivor and how they view Kelsier's time alive, though. Quote, Kelsier the man died in those pits, and Kelsier the survivor was born. He was granted great power and great wisdom by a force that is beyond us all. That is why he accomplished what he did. That is why we worship him. He still had the follies of a man, but he had the hopes of a divinity. Interesting.
Yeah, it goes on to... They're trying to deify him so that people will continue to follow him. Because if he's simply a man, that's not really worth following. You got to make him somewhat supernatural. Unless he was. I mean, I feel like I'm being gaslit again by the author here. Am I thinking incorrectly about the past of Kelsier?
No, I think it's safe to say the dude's not actually a god. Like, it's fine. He is a human.
Because some of the language is like, am I second guessing? Do I believe in the Church of the Survivor now all of a sudden?
Yeah. Suddenly the mists begin to rise, and small pockets of openings sprout up in the lines of soldiers as some fall to the ground, seizing. Elend tells Demue they need to ride to support the troops, but he looks back and Demue has fallen to the ground as well, and ash continues to fall.
I like that. That's the verbatim, the last part of that chapter. Ash continues to fall. But side note, Ellen, once again, kind of falling flat here on your leadership because you just didn't realize this guy was not immune to the mists.
That's true.
He just assumed, and it says as much, he assumed since everybody else in his little gang here wasn't affected by it, this guy wasn't either.
Yeah, classic Elend.
Classic Elend.
All right, Steven, it is time. Give us your winner and loser of the week.
I'm going to say the loser. I know this is probably going to be your answer too, but I'm going to say it's Elend just because I don't not get it though. Yeah. I understand that he is more callous due to the situations he's found himself in over the past, specifically year. He's having to train. He's a mistborn. There's a lot of changes that are going on in his life. He's not the same book guy that goes to balls and ignores women. He's a totally different guy. So I'll give him the loss though, because I just don't like some of his rhetoric, and he kind of aided at the end there by not realizing that one of his guys is allergic to mists.
Okay.
And I don't know if that guy's dead or not. If he did die, I'd give him the loss because if you die, you lose. But I'll give the loser to Ellen. I'll give the winner to Spook because I think he's the most interesting character in the book at this point because I don't know much about him.
Yeah.
And I also love a good character arc, something to go with. So I'll give it to Spook, even though he did get stabbed in the chest. I don't think he's dead, and I think he will rise from the ash, no pun intended, and continue to be awesome.
Okay. All right. My loser for this week, it's no surprise. It's Elend. Just L's all around for him. I don't need to go into it any deeper. And then my winner, I'll give it to Demue, actually. He kind of stood up to Elend there for a second when it came to the Survivor. And considering there's not any other real winners in this episode for me, besides Spook, that's a worthy winner as well. But I'm going to give it to Demue.
I'm going to give you some predictions.
Cool.
I'm still going to lean on the predictions I've been making. I don't think there's any evidence to support them not happening now. I think
that's great.
So go back to the previous predictions. I mean, I think Sazed is the one writing the epigraphs. I think I may add that maybe Spook is the chosen one.
The hero of ages.
I don't know. I'll throw him into the mix for something.
Yeah.
I do think that Vin is going to die. I don't know why. I just have a feeling.
Okay.
I think Ellen's going to live and Vin is going to die. I think I mentioned this last episode, but once again, I think the Mist Spirit is either Kelsier or Reshek. Mm-hmm. It would make sense if it was Reshek. But I don't think the Mist Spirit, I think, operates different than the Mists themselves. I think it's just named incorrectly.
Yeah.
Because it's a spirit that just seems to be able to navigate the mists. But it was helping at the end, so I don't think it was nefarious. It wanted to keep Ruin in the well.
Right.
So it's got to be on the side of preservation. Or maybe it's just preservation and it just has no body because it's, I don't know. I'll go with it's either Reshek or Kelsier.
Okay.
I don't know why I want to deify Kelsier all of a sudden, but here we are. And I think that Spook and our new lady friend here get together.
Spook and Beldre.
Bellatrix.
Bellatrix. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think they get together. Also, there's something going on with this, the citizen. And we mentioned as much before that they have nefarious purposes for what they're doing. But I think it's somebody, maybe he's got a spike in his chest too.
Ooh, like he's being manipulated by Ruin.
Yeah,
okay.
maybe he, it's kind of similar to Zane.
Yeah.
He's being, and I still think Zane's voice was Ruin.
Yeah.
But maybe this guy is being manipulated as well.
Okay. All right, everybody. That is it for episode 3 of our deep dive of Hero of Ages. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you next week for chapters 18 through 24.
Also, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating and review on your podcast platform. It really does help. And give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Fantasy Fanfellas. Hey, and maybe send that handle to a friend.
Ooh, that's a great idea, Steven. We also want to give a big thank you to all the folks who have joined one of the network tiers for the Fantasy Fan Club.
We have Requelephant, Melissa Wiley, Alexandria Gribble, Casey, Grace Washington, and Lisa.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We are so happy to have you aboard. And lastly, if you loved this episode and you are personally advocating for starting an Ellen hate club, this is the perfect episode to share with a friend. Okay, see you all next week for chapters 18 through 24. Bye!
Ka-chink.